Jongaman, Fanopase. Today we are in Eastern Cape. The diagram below represents the eye. Now I'm a Shogbon Uzuwazo Pass. Welcome to Educate, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are given diagram 1 as well as diagram 2 here. We have got the side view of the eye, or you can just say it's the cross-section view of an eye, or the transverse profile of an eye, but hardly use that word. So basically, remember, I've already said that always whenever they ask you using the side view of an eye, they are usually going to question you based on the accommodation mechanism. Usually, right? I'm not excluding everything else. So now 1.5.1. So here we can do a couple of labels before continuing so that our thing is just going to be very easier. So you can see that label C here. Okay, starting with A. A, it is just a dot that is found on top here. There's just a dot found on top here, and that dot represents the ciliary muscle. Remember, it shows the ciliary muscles. They're just found at the end of the choroid. And then structure B, you can see that connected to the ciliary muscles, we've got izintambo, spindle fibers. They look like spindle fibers, but they're not really spindle fibers. They're known as suspensory ligaments. So for the eye, these are suspensory ligaments. So these are suspensory ligaments. And then we have got part E. Part E, you can see that it is showing a round-like structure here, and this structure that looks like round here, it is known as a lens. So remember, this is known as a lens. And then part D, you can see that part D here, it is just the outer part, the bulgy part of the eye. So this is the bulgy part of the eye, the one that is actually in front of the eye. It is transparent, remember, and it is known as the cornea. So part D shows the cornea. It is rounded, or it is convex. And then we've got part C. Part C is something that is just projecting itself out there, something like this. So this is part C, and it shows you the iris. So part C, it is the iris of the human eye. So basically, the iris is the one that eventually makes up the pupil. So this space here, it is known as the pupil. But now, let us now let's now look at the question, because we have labeled everything. 1.5.1 asks us to give the letter and the name of the part that. Remember, when they say letter and the name, they want the letter and the name. Do not write the letter only. Do not write the name only. Always read the instruction, unless you want to fail grade 12s. I'm sure I've said this the millionth time now. So the letter and the name of the part that contracts. So it contracts so that it can change the shape of the lens. Remember that when the lens is changing its shape, it does so that it can focus on distant or near vision. And that is known as accommodation mechanism. As I've already said to you, that whenever they give you a side view of the eye, most of the time they will question you based on accommodation. You know that the part, something that can contract or relax, it is muscles always. So the muscles can contract or relax. Now we just need to know which muscles here can contract or relax to change the shape of the of the lens. And here we can see that here it is ciliary muscles. Those are the only muscles that we have here. So A, it is the ciliary muscles. So the ciliary muscles, they contract, and once they contract, these suspensory ligaments will become slackened. They will become slackened so that the lens will become bigger and bulgy. That's accommodation for near vision. And then now B says give the letter and the name of the part that controls the amount of light that enters the eye. So this is more like a pupillary mechanism kind of stuff. So now remember that here we're not given a front view of the eye, and we cannot see a label for the pupil, because basically remember that the pupil, it is this region here, or this small space here. And according to our diagrams, it is not labeled at all, but we do know what controls the size of the pupil so that we can regulate the amount of light that enters your eye. Because remember that the pupil, it can either constrict this space here, it can either become bigger or it can become smaller, depending on what? Depending on the amount of light that is outside. So in bright light, when there's a bright light like this, what will happen? My pupil will constrict. And in dim light, what will happen? My pupil will dilate. So basically, that is controlled by some part that is a label here. And we can see that this is the iris. Yes, it is the iris, because remember that the iris is the one that has got the muscles that control the size of the pupil. The circular muscles and the radial muscles, they are found on top of the iris, if you didn't know that. Yes, they are found on top of the iris. So here we say that this is C, and it is the iris. But if they had given a label, maybe they've said that this label here, it is label Z, you would have said Z is the one that controls the amount of light, because the pupil is the one that dilates and constricts. But here, this is a bit of a hidden question. You must know that for the pupil to dilate or to constrict, what must happen? We must have radial muscles. We must have radial muscles and circular muscles, and all of those are found on top of the iris. Those are the muscles of the iris. And then now, number C, it says give the letter and the name of the part that is protected by the conjunctiva. Remember, the conjunctiva is sort of like a structure that you find here. So it's a sort of like a structure that you find here. The conjunctiva, you can see that from my diagram, it is very clear that it is protecting the cornea. So the conjunctiva, it is this conjunctiva here, it is protecting the what? The cornea. Okay, so we just need to look for the label of the cornea, because basically you can see that the cornea, it is more like it is exposed to the outside environment. Okay, so basically this conjunctiva is able to blink, to close your eyes and open your eyes. This is the conjunctiva. It's able to blink so that you can close your eyes. It's able to blink so that you can open them as well. So it is protecting the frontmost part of the eye, which is the cornea. And in this case, the cornea, it is shown by symbol D. So we're going to say D, which is the cornea. This is 2 marks each, the letter and the name. I repeat, 1.5.2. Study the diagram 1 and diagram 2. Study diagram 1 and diagram 2. What process is responsible for the change of shape in the shape of part E? You can see that in diagram 1 we have got the same labels as diagram 2, but we do have some quite difference. One difference between diagram 1 and diagram 2. The most visible difference is the lens, the shape of the lens. Because in diagram 1 you can see that the lens is smaller, but in diagram 2 you can see that the lens, which is part E here, it is way bigger. So basically when the lens, it is coming from being smaller to being bigger, it means that you are now looking at something that is closer to you, because remember that when you're looking at something that is closer to you, your lens becomes bigger, or it becomes more convex, it becomes bulgy, it becomes more rounded. All of those terms, you can use them. Okay, and this mechanism, or this process that is happening, it is known as accommodation, because that's basically the process whereby the lens, or part E, is changing its shape so that you can be able to see objects that are closer to you. So it's like I was watching something that is very far away, so my lens was smaller when I was watching something far away, and now when I have to look at this pen that is closer to me, my lens has to become bigger or more bulgy. So that process is known as accommodation, and this is accommodation specifically for near vision, but we can just say this is accommodation. And then now 1.5.3, the last question, it asks us which diagram 1 or diagram 2, represents the state of the eye when a person is reading a book. Which diagram represents the state of the eye when the person is reading a book? For you to be able to read a book, the book needs to be closer to you. It needs to be near you. Alright, you cannot read a book that is 6 meters away from you. That's impossible. So when someone is reading a book, we are talking about the accommodation for closer vision or for near vision. Because when you are reading a book, you need to read it closer to your eyes, so your eyes are accommodated for near vision. Alright, so here, which diagram, in other words, they're trying to ask which diagram between 1 and 2 represents the accommodation for near vision. I've already clarified that during near vision, the lens is more convex, the lens is more rounded. You can see that here in diagram 1, the lens is sort of slim. It's something like this. You can see that this is the lens, part E. That's the lens we're talking about. It must be something that you can see grade 12 so that you can get it correct. Okay, so here you can see that in diagram 1 the lens is small. You can see it in this diagram, it's very small. But if you compare to diagram 2, the diagram 2 lens, it is more bulgy, it is more rounded. Look at part E here, which is the lens. It is more rounded. Grade 12, you can see this, it is more rounded. So the fact that it is more rounded, it shows us that this person is looking at something closer to them. Right, so that is diagram 2. So diagram 2, it is the one that shows the person reading a book, because when they are reading a book, they are using the accommodation for near vision. And this is how you get all the marks. So this is 1, this is 1, 1, this is 1, 1, this is 1, 1, this is 1.